So this is something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about when it comes to getting into UX. And I think it's really important to talk about because I think it's something that is going to happen to everybody that tries to do it. And so to give context to this problem that I'm talking about, I've been trying to get into the UX design industry for 9 months now. And at this point, I'm working on applying to jobs and working on a freelance web design project at the moment. And during this 9-month span, there was what I would define as a critical period in time where I started to doubt this entire journey. And in fact, recently, this was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I started entertaining the idea of just quitting and abandoning this entire journey. Well, apparently this period of self-doubt and wanting to quit are very normal and very common, and it happens to pretty much everybody when it comes to wanting to gain mastery over a skill. So whether that's playing guitar or wanting to cook Thai food, or in this case, wanting to get into UX. Now for me, the beginning of my journey getting into UX was really fun, right? Everything was new, everything was novel. I learned so many new things in a very short amount of time, and I was able to apply those things so that I felt like I was gaining a lot of competence in different areas of the UX process. And so a lot of this was because I was in my boot camp. And so because all of that information was just new to me, I felt like I was constantly making progress. And because I was constantly making progress and seeing the fruits of that progress, those rewards sort of triggered this feedback of having this near constant stream of motivation to keep pressing forward. Because, the beginning of anything, you're going to get the most gains from, right? Like if someone goes to the gym and starts working out, they're going to get really strong really fast because they've never worked out before. And so they're going to get all these beginner gains, and then those gains are going to fuel their motivation to keep going to the gym and keep working out. But there comes a time where the beginner gains stop happening. And this happens with working out, but it also happens with getting into UX. And this is what I would call the intermediate stage of the process. And so during this time, skill acquisition becomes a lot more difficult. And so I find that the amount of effort that I put into something yields less reward. And because it yields less reward, there is less motivation to keep going. And so I have to start relying on something else to get me through this process. And because motivation is no longer there. Like in the beginning, it's very motivating to see all the beginner gains that I get with learning Figma and things like that. And that serves as fuel to keep me going. But that inevitably fades in the intermediate stage. And so at this point, I have to rely on pure self-discipline to get me through. And while self-discipline is an awesome long-term fuel, it's a very difficult spark to ignite. And so the real difficulty with the intermediate stage is that all of the progress that has to happen in this stage typically has to happen by a result of doing something as opposed to learning something. Taking action as opposed to watching like a tutorial or something. And that's something that I constantly have to remind myself. And it's difficult, all right? Like it's difficult. It is so much easier for me to open up a YouTube tutorial and watch something than it is for me to open Figma or to open Webflow and like start designing. It is so that the barrier to do that is just so high on a lot of days at this stage. And I think a lot of that is because it just takes longer at this stage to get results. Now this phenomenon is so common that Seth Godin has coined the term the dip to describe this period of time. And so Seth describes the dip as a long, slow slog between starting and mastery. A long slog that's actually a shortcut because it gets you where you want to go faster than any other path. Now that last sentence really strikes a chord with me because it makes me realize that anything in life worth having requires work. And more importantly, requires persistence of that work over a long enough time horizon to see the rewards of that work. And so for me, it feels like I'm in a slog right now because I'm doing all of this work and I'm not seeing a lot of progress at the moment. But I know that the rewards on the other side of that are going to be great. And I know that if I just persist, it is actually the shortcut to get to where I want to go. And the reason for that is because most people are simply going to quit. Most people don't have the persistence to navigate the obstacles and to navigate the dip to get on the other side of it. And so I know if I can just keep going, that's really all I need to do to get to the other side. And the other difficulty about the dip is that as I go through, I realize that things don't get easier, they get harder. So in the beginning, when I was learning Figma, while it was difficult to learn in the beginning, it also was somewhat approachable as well. And so going through my boot camp and going through projects, I was able to learn Figma a decent amount. And then by taking Mitsuko's Figma Masterclass, I was able to learn it really well. But then now that I'm learning Webflow, I'm now realizing that this, to me, is a lot more difficult than learning than learning Figma. And I imagine that as I keep going through my UX journey, there's probably going to be increasing challenges or increasing difficulty and challenges as I go through. So what do we do about the dip? How do we overcome it? I think for me, one of the big things is just being aware that it is a common phenomenon that is going to occur on any journey towards a meaningful outcome. And so for me, when I hit those periods like I did recently where I have those doubts and I have those feelings of wanting to quit, I now can realize that, hey, that's a common phenomenon. That is going to happen. That is not me actually wanting to quit. That is me just not wanting to sit down and do the damn work. And so by knowing that, it allows me to just better able weather the storm. And furthermore, by having this knowledge, it reminds me that if I quit, I am starting back at zero. And all the progress that I will have made will have been thrown away. And no matter what journey I start next, there will always be a dip. So it doesn't make sense to start over and do something else when I'm going to just experience the exact same dip. And so that also gives me some fuel to keep pushing forward. I got a comment recently on one of my videos that's very relevant to this. So someone posted a comment saying that they were trying to get into UX for over a year and they are now going to quit to do software development. And I think that's crazy. And I mean that respectfully I hope this person's watching this video, because what that person probably doesn't realize is that software dev is going to have the exact same dip. So this person has made over a year's worth of progress and they're going to throw that away to go into a field where they're going to have the exact same dip. And then what happens next? Are they going to quit that? You could see where there could be like this cyclical cycle of starting and quitting. And I've fallen victim to that in the past. And I think that's why I resonate with this so strongly, is I used to be this serial quitter that I would try something, I couldn't get good at it, and I quit before I ever got the rewards. And so I hope the person's watching, and I hope you don't quit. Just keep persisting. One thing that also helps me with getting through the dip is reflecting on my why. Why am I switching and getting into UX? And for me, it's 3 reasons: to be able to work remotely, to be able to do creative work and get paid for it, and to be able to work for myself. And I see a lot of people that say that they want to get into UX because they want to get into tech. And I would ask those people to maybe dig deeper and ask themselves why they want to get into tech. Because this is just me. I don't think that getting into tech is a deep enough reason to persist through the dip. There needs to be something beyond that, right? So like superficial things like getting more money and getting into tech, I just don't think have strong enough anchor points to keep people persisting through the obstacles that they're inevitably going to face. So if someone is watching this and they don't have a real deep reason for why they're getting into UX, I would urge you to maybe consider that and think about what those deeper reasons might be. You know, is it maybe that you like doing creative work? Is it, hey, you want to have the ability to collaborate with other people, or maybe you value autonomy? Think about those reasons, because if I know for me, if I didn't have those deeper reasons, I would have quit a long time ago. I just know that. So I just want to close by saying, you know, whatever obstacles that you're going through when it comes to getting into UX, just know that it's totally normal. It's meant to be difficult. And I try to remind myself that, you know, the rewards on the other side of this dip are well worth the slog that it takes to get there. And one other thing that I wanted to bring up that can be very helpful when it comes to getting through a dip is by becoming a part of a community of other people who are trying to achieve a similar goal. So recently I created a Discord server called the Designers Den, which is exactly that. It's a group of designers. Some of them are practicing UX designers, and a lot of others are people aspiring to get into UX. But it's a really cool community where you can network with people and collaborate on projects. And if you want to join, the link is down in the description below. And if you've been getting value from these videos that I put out, it'd be cool if you hit the subscribe button. That would help me out a lot. And if you're interested in sort of the freelance journey that I've been a part of lately, you can check this video out here. And it talks about sort of my plan with pursuing freelance UX on the side. And I think that's about it for this video. So until next time, I will see you in the next video. Take care.